guys, what's up and welcome to my channel. I'm Miley. I have pumpkins in the background. You know what that means? It's fall. I love fall. I love fall. Get me to the pumpkin patch. Although the official start date of fall isn't for another week and a half, I think. In my book, when it hits September 1st, I get out my pumpkin spice latte candles and I'm ready to go. And before it hits October and we jump right into Halloween videos, I thought it would be fun to do a DIY fall decorations video. Like always, in preparation for this video, I ran out and picked up a few things, and I have 3 projects planned out. I'm going to be doing some fabric pumpkins, a wreath, and also not sure what to call this last one, but we'll call it a fall-inspired wall hanger or door hanger. You could hang it on your door as well. I have had this video planned out for a while now, and I am very excited to get started finally. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay. I really truly never know how to start these voiceovers, so let's just get into it. The first item I tackled was making the fall-inspired wall hanger. I got these 3 wooden arrows from the dollar store, so of course they were $1, and I had the idea of gluing them together to create one piece. They all started off facing the same way, and I wanted the middle arrow to be facing the opposite way, so I was able to cut the twine off the back and reuse those pieces to connect all the arrows together. Once I let that sit for a little bit, I flipped the arrows back over and began to paint. Well, right now I'm not painting, I'm staining, and if you don't have any stain, you can always do a mixture of brown paint and water. That would give a similar effect, and if the mixture is too light, you could always add black to the mixture. Now getting to the concept or the design process behind this wall decor, I grew up in Wisconsin near a place called the Elegant Farmer. It has a world-renowned apple pie. If you want to order one, they bake it in a paper bag. I'm pretty sure this is similar to most farms that have apple orchards and pumpkins, but there was always a post with arrows pointed in different directions of which way to go for different activities. And I thought it would be fun to create a sign similar to this post. I didn't want to just write out the words, so I added little illustrations, and I did have a hard time choosing what my arrows were going to be pointing to because there's so many options. So I picked my 3 favorites that I remember from going to the Elegant Farmer growing up. They of course had a pumpkin patch, and then next I chose apple cider because the apple cider station always included caramel apples, and you could either get your apple on a stick dipped in caramel, or you could get it cut and drizzled with toppings and everything. And now I'm starting to realize why I like fall so much. Third and final was the hay rides, but in this case at the Elegant Farmer, the hay rides were what you used to get up to the apple orchards to pick apples. And that's the whole process behind this design, and this now reminds me of my childhood in the great state of Wisconsin. Go Pack! Once those little paintings were all done, I wrote out the words associated with the painting, and if by chance you've seen some of my previous videos, you might know that I don't have some of the best paint markers, and I finally took the time and actually ordered some good paint markers so that I could write out these words and they would actually turn out. And I'm definitely no calligraphist, but I'm really pleased with how each one of these words turned out. I'm not sure if it was the new paint pen or if I was just having a good penmanship day, but I really think I want to get into calligraphy now. Okay, so we just got done doing something I'm fairly comfortable with. Let's move on to something I know nothing about. Except for the plastic bag wreath I made in elementary school, I will consider this the first wreath I have ever made. Starting off, I just started to play around trying to figure out something and started to wrap this ribbon thing around the frame, but then quickly jumped ship from that idea and moved on to my next idea. Taking all the leaf clusters, I took some wire cutters and started clipping those so that they were all separate. I figured they'd be a little bit easier to work with being separate, and I would be able to evenly distribute the red leaves from the yellow leaves. Now came the fun part of trying to figure out how to attach these leaves, and that's when I came up with the genius idea of wrapping some red yarn around the wreath frame, thinking I could stick the leaves in and weave them in between the yarn so that they were secure. I did a few rounds around the frame and then called it good, and then to my surprise, this idea actually worked. And I'm sure there are a bunch of people out there that would laugh at this idea, but hey, I was pretty proud of it. And once I had the yarn around the frame, this actually went pretty quick after that. And as I started to work each one of the little leaf clusters into the yarn, if it didn't lay exactly how I wanted it to, I would hot glue it in place. I pretty quickly realized I didn't have enough leaves to cover the whole frame, so I took the red yarn I used and started wrapping it around the top half of the frame over and over and over again. Okay, you get the point, let's speed this up. Perfect! And here is the wreath complete. I am truly shocked at how this turned out. Okay, let's get to the third and final DIY fall decor project, making some fabric pumpkins. Now here's something I know a little bit about. I started off with painting and now I'm ending with sewing. Let's talk about fabric for a second, shall we? In fabric, we have the warp and weft. Here you see me pulling in either direction on this fabric and you see there's not much stretch. But then if you pull the fabric at an angle, you'll notice it's much stretchier. That is called the bias. This isn't totally necessary, but fabric pumpkins will most likely turn out a little better if you cut your piece of fabric on the bias. For my first pumpkin, I measured out and cut a piece that was 18 by 7 inches. I then folded that piece in half, measured out a half an inch, and then sewed along that line. The next move after sewing those ends together is to open up that piece and to sew a gathering stitch around one of the ends of the piece. And I should mention that you can also do all of this sewing by hand if you don't have a sewing machine, but the sewing machine just makes it a bit quicker. To do a proper gathering stitch and to make sure your gathering is all nice and even, some might say you should do 2 stitch lines close together, but honestly, these are fabric pumpkins. We're not making couture dresses, so it's up to you how involved you want to get. Pulling on the thread, I began to gather the fabric, and once the fabric was as closely gathered as I could get it, I sewed up that hole by hand. It's stuffing time. Taking some polyfill, I filled up this pumpkin and then did another gathering stitch at the other end, and again you can either do this on the machine or by hand. I ended up doing it by hand and it took no time at all. Getting out my embroidery kit, I picked out a thread that complemented the fabric I was using and bringing that thread up through the middle and wrapping it back down around and to the bottom again. This helps create the squishier shape of the pumpkin and creates the indented ridges. Then for the stem, I did actually get little wooden pieces for the stem, but they ended up being too big for this pumpkin. So thinking on my feet, I took the same fabric and cutting a strip, I rolled that up and hot glued it, and then hot glued some twine around that rolled up fabric. And to complete this pumpkin, I added a little twine bow to the stem. And this little guy is complete. He's so cute, and just like magic, I made 2 more pumpkins following the exact same steps. And if you want to know the dimensions of the strips I used to make each pumpkin size, I put that in the description down below. Once these 3 pumpkins were complete, I was able to stack them and swing tack them together, but if you don't feel like sewing, you could always just hot glue them together. Here is the third and final item of this DIY fall decorations video. I truly love the way each one of these items turned out, and actually each item really didn't take that long to make. I was pleasantly surprised. I hope you liked this video, guys, and if you try out any of these, please send me a photo on Instagram or TikTok. I would absolutely love to see it. And if you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification button so that you know when I post. And make sure to watch out for my upcoming Halloween videos. I have some super fun videos planned out. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.